Racing. A competition of speed where participants try to complete the task in the shortest amount of time. I think there's a little more to that. It's about challenging opponents with various levels of skill, rapidly changing weather conditions, and the car that demands full focus on its control. But what if the opponent's skill set is evenly matched, and awareness and respect are present, and the environmental conditions and effects are a non-factor? Well, it all comes down to one thing. Race cars. They come in different shapes, weights, and sizes, but there's a few things they usually have in common. They're purpose-built for going fast and usually compete within the same class, meaning roughly the same weight, roughly the same power. Today, I'd like you to witness a battle in the GT3 category, a category with a relatively relaxed rule set, meaning various types of chassis and powertrain configurations are available. But before race cars become their best selves, they gotta start as something less extreme. Jaguar F-Type, a spiritual successor to the original icon of design and performance. The E-Type is a modern take on a traditional form with supercar levels of performance. Powered by a 5-liter supercharged V8, making 550 horsepower going to the rear wheels and weighing at 1650 kilos, this car is certainly no slouch. Jaguar follows a more traditional powertrain packaging philosophy, with engine and transmission located at the front. Ultimately, it means that this car is more front-heavy, with a front-to-back balance of 52-48, which reduces its cornering ability. Still, its high baseline performance easily makes this car suitable for racing applications, and becoming an absolute monster in both the straights and in the bends. But to get there, a metamorphosis must happen.
Yeah.
Lower, wider, and most importantly lighter, the Jag flexes huge aerodynamic elements and a thunderous exhaust. Shedding all the luxury certainly helps out. Over 350 kilos of the original weight transformed the bulky and bougie coupe into an uncompromising track weapon. Still, the powertrain packaging is reflected in slow turning, but is balanced by incredible stability and traction. Certainly a worthy challenger on many of the tracks, but we'll see what the competition is packing.
Come on.
In the other corner, shaped by the forces of nature and owned by the elements, sits a McLaren 650S, a light, carbon-bodied mid-engine supercar. Powered by a 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged V8, making a downright ridiculous 641 horsepower at only 1,330 kilos. A true supercar indeed, with its carbon fiber monocoque and an incredibly powerful engine sitting behind the driver. This car is certainly living up to the legend that the F1 once was. With the majority of the components sitting in the back, this car's balance is a way more dramatic front to back of 42 to 58, which means that it loves to rotate, especially on the power. Even in its stock form, this thing can give a run for its money to any GT3 race car on the straight, but to catch up in the corners, it needs a little spruce up. Similar to the Jaguar, the 650S is wider, lower, slightly lighter, and more aerodynamically prepped. But to fit the GT3 rule set, the engine is undertuned from 641 horsepower to a less impressive 530. Still, just as the OG road-going version, it's nimble, stable, and very predictable, contrary to the other mid-engine supercars available. So, our two rivals, two British race cars, both powered by some sort of a V8 with identical power and nearly identical weight. On paper, these two seem like a pretty even matchup, and they are, until you dig a little deeper. Despite having the same power figures, the difference in torque is where it's really at. It's a bit hard to notice any dramatic dissimilarity between the separated graphs until you mix them together. Put simply, the torque is responsible for acceleration strength, and the power is responsible for top speed. The difference in torque suggests that the Jaguar will have a significant advantage at low speed acceleration. However, McLaren's cornering ability might claw some of that advantage back in the tight sections, and that will play a great role at the chosen location. So, let's see where this rivalry takes us. Trial Mountain, a legendary circuit that has been in the GT franchise since the very first title. For the latest game, Gran Turismo 7, the circuit was heavily reworked, making the straights longer, the S's tighter, and most importantly removing the infamous yeet chicane for a more grounded and realistic racing experience. Now let's talk about the racing conditions. We're here for 5 laps on racing soft tires, with no fuel or tire consumption, no changing weather, and it's a rolling start. Basically, these settings make this race a time trial with other drivers in it. This allows for absolute focus on the racing without any distractions. In the open practice, I managed to bag a pole position with a respectable time of 1 minute 47.8, but the Jack wasn't that far behind with a 47.9. For context, that's how big of a gap that is. If it's this close at the starting line, this race could be extremely promising. As the grid rolls up to the line, let's begin in the Jaguar's cockpit to see how much better it is off the line. Yeah, the McLaren didn't really stand a chance there, but there's more than enough time to challenge for the lead. In this opening lap, it's important to focus on getting up to speed quickly, because the time to challenge the leader is plentiful, but limited. In these early sections, it is crucial to separate yourself from the pack behind, so that no time is wasting battling for positions you don't really even want. And already, the gap between me and the pack behind extends to the point where challenging for the second, let alone for the lead, is no longer an option. As we enter the third tunnel and the longest straight on the track, it's a necessity to stay in the slipstream, because it will give you a massive speed upside by the end of it, and judging by their aggressive swerve, the leader is aware. but I'm not playing this game. Welcome to the Showdown. As we approach the big braking zone, it's apparent that the McLaren is much better on the brakes. Through the corner, foot to the floor, no hesitation, using all of the track available and putting as much pressure as possible from this far back. First 3/4 of the lap is behind us, and I have to say, this guy is certainly a formidable opponent. No apparent mistakes or anything that would compromise him in any way. I really have to fight for it. Into the final braking zone, getting as close as possible to spring an attack into the first section, but that low down torque of the Jaguar immediately lets him pull a few car lengths on me. So in the final lap, if I want to claim the victory, I must be ahead before the final chicane. Into the first section, I notice that he has to brake to balance his car for the upcoming elevation changes, which lets me close the gap within seconds. As we enter the first tunnel, something weird happens. The Jaguar drifts offline as if there was contact between us. So let's rewind and watch it from the other angle. As you can see, all seems to be in good order, so perhaps there was a connection issue. Still, as a true gentleman, I let off the gas to let him pass and take the racing line. But, into the center section, he hits the apex, and I inadvertently hit his rear quarter and give him a solid boost. So now, there's only one thing to do. Try to catch up. Fighting for the last lap, I'm finally back, and the pressure of me catching up is getting to the leader. Look how much the car leans as I try to get all the slipstream, while the Jag is trying to brake it. The time is slowly running out, so now I really have to get all the advantage that I can. Into the braking zone, I get the closest I've been since the start of the race, and I just have to flash my hellos to the leader. Now, it's important to stay as close as possible, so that I can spring an attack when the opportunity presents itself. The remainder of the lap is not particularly suitable for any overtaking, with the exception of the last chicane, but I feel like going for a move there will compromise my chances into the first section, so for now, I stay back, getting ready myself for a potential overtake. As we're getting close to the start-finish line, I am rapidly gaining and fully prepared to launch an absolute stunner into the first tunnel. Whoa, I had to really get on the brakes there. Over the crest, the jack front lifts, which causes him to slide, so now is the chance to dart over to the inside and attempt an overtake. keeping close to the apex. Where is he? Where is he? Ah, there he is. So I stay in the middle to defend my hard-earned position. Approaching the second tunnel, I receive a tap, which creates a massive issue for me. Ooh, that was too close for comfort, and the Jag is way too close in the acceleration zone, so I tactically back out of the throttle to let him pass, use a slipstream and re-overtake him into the braking zone. Side by side into the braking zone in the corner, with both of us getting at the gas at the same time. The following chicane can barely fit us both at the same time. And I just managed to get ahead. Look at how close that is, mere inches away from each other. Now that is proper racing, clean, respectful, and incredibly close. Now it is Jag's turn to put all the pressure by getting incredibly close in the final chicane, almost pushing me along. Rounding out lap 3, we get to the start-finish straight, where the McLaren is incredibly vulnerable because of its weak acceleration, and the Jaguar has all the chance to get me for the first chicane. As we cross the line, the Jag easily outdrags and clears me before the first section, but judging by the previous lap, I have a strong chance to return my lead into the first tunnel. Over the crest, down the hill, gaining speed and down the inside, neck and neck through the tunnel. The Jaguar holds a more advantageous inside line, but I still manage to pull an outrageous outside move, but he is somewhat alongside still. And now the elbows are coming out, as the Jag tries to push his way into the second tunnel. The outside turns to the inside, into the third tunnel, and I'm able to hold on to the lead, but again have to let him pass to do that thing with the slipstream again. Into the braking zone, the Jag slides and yields the position. Now I have to drive as hard as I can to claw the advantage to not be overtaken on the main straight again. Into the final corner for the penultimate time, I didn't manage to pull a gap big enough, and the pressure is reaching its critical point, as it is my turn to try and break the slipstream and try to hold on to the lead until the first sector where I hold the advantage. You can see how nervous I am as I bob and weave to try to stay in the middle of the track to block any upcoming moves. The Jag fakes a move towards the inside, and I react, albeit too late. There's some confusion, and I just want to pause here. I know this looks like a brake check, but I was trying to let the man through because I felt that my late defensive reaction was a bit dirty. Why here? But it didn't matter anyway, because the race unravels for me over the crest, as I head off the track to mow some grass.
Psych!
Still trying to fight around the outside with the dirty tires into the center section. I'm in the wrong gear, and I don't get the drive off the corner, and the Jag bolts off into the distance. And unfortunately, there isn't enough time to catch him up and force an overtake in only half the lap remaining. Still, I have to push on, hoping for my own speed being enough, or an unforced error from the Jaguar. Drifting the car into the corner to get the faster rotation and boot it out as quickly as possible, but the McLaren is already giving me everything it's got. Into the final chicane, maybe there's a chance for a massive send from about 7 zip codes back, but I think better of it, and let the man finish a truly incredible and inspiring race. As we cross the line, the McLaren trolls me by telling me to limp home. What a piece of... To be fair, he fought incredibly well, skillfully maneuvering the bulky Jag around the bends and taking advantage of its acceleration prowess to bring the deserved win. As I found out after watching the replay, he was just cruising on automatic the entire race. A true Giga Chad. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts, and for now, peace!